A round 13 blockbuster today, coming to you live on Channel 503. Yes, it's first versus third. The Swans up against the Power. And it's coming up next, live on 503.
The match of the round. The match of the year. And it's right here on Saturday live on Fox. Today's 5-game feast starts with the troubled Tigers against Fremantle at the G. Then this powerful Port side, flying high, will try to conquer the Swans in enemy territory.
Franklin with a long goal!
West Coast have their worries, none bigger than this little bloke right here.
It's just not right, he's too good.
While over in Adelaide, the Kangas await.
You won't believe it, North Melbourne are in front!
The Crows can't afford to slip up tonight. The Lions are roaring and fun to watch.
And the Magician!
Can they make it 3 on the trot against GWS?
I'm so fancy.
5 games, all live.
I'm in the
Here's Sandy Roberts.
from LA to Tokyo.
Thank you, Lockie. Great to be with you once again for an absolutely monster day here on Fox Footy as I welcome Bulldog legend Brad Johnson. Brad, 5 games in our 5 capital cities. Never occurred before.
It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? Richmond and Fremantle, they're underway already, so we'll check in with that in a second. But Sydney and Port Adelaide, West Coast and Gold Coast, big game for both teams there. Brisbane Lions and GWS, and Adelaide and North Melbourne. So some big games ahead live on Fox.
Richmond got the opening goal, but the Dockers have hit back and they lead by 5 points. But this round has huge ramifications as far as the ladder is concerned. Port Adelaide looking to skip away from Sydney, be 3 games clear of that side.
That would be absolutely huge. Port Adelaide will take that for sure. Sydney, of course, they're sitting on 32 points, looking then to keep in touch with the Hawks. Percentage is great at 140. They'll look to grow that this afternoon, but that's why it shapes as such a big game at the SCG.
And we look at the bottom half of the 8, and it's huge games as far as Adelaide is concerned. They still have hopes of playing September football. They certainly need to beat North Melbourne if they are going to do that tonight. But we're going to be concentrating on the SCG. It's going to be packed for Sydney hosting Port Adelaide. One side's won 7 straight, another one has won 8 straight. It is going to be a monster game. And to set the scene, let's head up to our commentary team now, headed by Jason Dunstall, David King and Anthony Hudson. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good afternoon, Sandy and Jono and Jason Kingy. We heard the words before. Perhaps the game of the year, certainly as far as these sides are concerned. A real test, not just for Port Adelaide, which has been built up, but also for Sydney as well.
Looking at it as a real tactical battle too, Kingy. We know the run and spread of Port is just a real weapon of theirs that few teams have been able to cope with. But we also know Sydney, if they can force the turnovers with their pressure, they'll move the ball quickly, not so much by leg speed, but by foot through the middle of the ground coming back.
I think it's as simple as this. It's the inside game of Sydney, their tough, contested, honest football versus the outside game of Port Adelaide. That doesn't mean that either side can't play the other facet of the game, but just not as well as their counterpart. And I think Sydney are in the best form we've seen them for some time. I think they're going into this game as favourites. Port have got the challenge in front of them, but we know they're good enough.
And after some rain this morning, the good news is the clouds have cleared. It's a sunny day. It's going to be a massive crowd, boys. We can't wait.
Have a great call, boys. We're looking forward to it. We shall be rejoining you very, very soon. But right now, let us head down to the Sydney rooms. John Longmire is there, and he's speaking with Cam Mooney.
Well, John, thanks very much for joining us. 7 wins on the trot, and I'm sure you have a lot of theories of why you're going so well, but to me, your midfield just like it's got that real zip about it again.
Yeah, that's probably the area that wasn't going so well at the start of the year, but they've really come on the last 7 weeks and have played a consistent brand and added a bit more depth through that area. We're missing one of those players. Benny McGlynn today has been really important, but we've been able to add Jakey Lloyd and Harry Cunningham and different types of that midfield mix, which has been really important for us.
Your co-captain, Kieran Jack, playing his 150th. How important has this guy been for you guys over the last couple of years?
Oh, he's been critical. He's a player that I saw develop through the reserves, and he started off as a little back pocket player who couldn't kick it very well. And what he's good at, though, is he almost epitomises what we want in a player. He plays really good, strong, three-way football, whether that's in the contest, defensively or offensively. He's got a really well-rounded game.
Port Adelaide today, what are you expecting? They've obviously had a fantastic season. Is it so much about their speed and ball carrying ability?
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it. They're they do transition the ball really well from defence to attack, and we're mindful of that and need to make sure we stop that. They're a really good team. They've got some great depth and they've got players in fantastic form, and that's why they're 2 games clear.
All right, well, good luck today, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.
It's going to be a great game. We'll take a break, come back with Brad Johnson as he checks out both the lineups for Sydney and Port Adelaide. It is 1 versus 3 on the premiership table as it stands at the moment. A real chance for Port to sneak away from the rest of the opposition, but Sydney is a mighty challenge. Beautiful blue sky in Sydney after some overnight rain and early morning rain, but it appears to have cleared now. We're looking forward to a clinker of a game. Brad Johnson, take us through the lineups.
Looks absolutely sensational now at the SCG. The lineups. Well, Kieran Jack, congratulations first up, 150th game. Well done. Pike's a late change, so Gary Rowan comes into the lineup. Brandon Jack's in as well. Jetta needs to be at his best and he needs to play both ways, up and down the wing, own the wing this afternoon. But what about their midfield? Parker, McVeigh, Kennedy, Jack, Hanbury and Bird. It's not a bad lineup. That's why the challenges are set now for Port Adelaide.
Good ends for Port.
Yeah, Monfrey's, White and Boat come into the side. Get their skipper back in. Trengo's been in excellent form at centre-half back. Corns is a very important player on the wing. And Gray, Schulz and Wingard. They're the big goal kickers for Port Adelaide.
Yeah, it's going to be a real test for some of those young players. Now, let's check out the Jeep Spotlight. Who are you focusing on?
Well, the transition battle, and the guys mentioned it a little bit before with Kingy and Jace, but that's where it is. Both sides love to get back and go. Who can actually dominate that area? And for Port Adelaide, it's the next big test. They've passed every big test so far this season, and it's another one today at the SCG.
Tips, who have you gone for?
I've gone for Port Adelaide by 18 points, Sandy.
And I've gone for the old red and white Warriors to just keep on rolling to win in a tight one. But whatever the outcome, we're looking forward to a ripping game, a great coverage. And right now, let's head to our commentators, headed up once again by Anthony Hudson.
Yes, the bounce not far away. Beautiful conditions at the SCG after a fair bit of overnight rain. Port Adelaide and Sydney ready for action. Now, Kingy.
Just want to talk about Ken Hinkley's theory regarding momentum and how he likes to handle it. Most teams have the stoplight or the traffic light theory. Red when you lose momentum, play the game a little bit slower in a controlled sense, protect your defensive end and your scoreboard against. Then that rolls to amber when you've got a teammate on who's out who can speed the game up again, Jace. He will then go and he will then excite and they will speed the game up and try and score. That's the amber. When you've got green, that's when you've got momentum in the game. That's when most sides like to take some risks, go through the corridor, play aggressive football, as you can see here. Now, Ken Hinkley has a double green. He wants to play the game at fast speed, both when they've got momentum and more particularly when they've lost it. The reason why is it may cost him a couple of goals, but you can tell that at some stage late in the game, with his running power, with this endurance bonus that he's got across the course of this team, he wants to maximise that late in game. It's a unique theory. It's a fantastic theory that's really serving them well.
Corns to Hanbury.
All right, let's see how it goes today. It's Sydney versus Port Adelaide at the SCG, and the centre bounce, not a perfect one. Lobe able to get the knockdown. Boak, pass fit to play this week, was caught in the crush. Franklin down it up. Bird, you can see the haste in which he got the ball into the 50. Not clean. Carlisle, Goods got a fingernail to it. Jonas, Broadbent, who's such a key player for them in defence on the way out. Got it out to the wing. McVeigh, Boak to counter that. Here's Cunningham going to be crushed again by Broadbent. Close to the line, Cunningham with his speed. They've started Jetta in the forward 50 as well, so put some pace in that forward line.
There'll be some great midfield matchups. We know there's great speed there, there's great strength inside. Ebert and Kennedy also look to be going ahead.
Well, Derrick's, who's got the job again as being the lone ruckman. Pike was a late withdrawal after it looked like he was going to come back into the team. Some big responsibility. Monfrey's also back for Port Adelaide.
And Kingy Jack Holmes looks like he's got the job on Buddy Franklin.
He's a runner. He's had a fantastic season. He's a good clamping type defender who doesn't engage too much in the offensive flow on the way out. He just gets the job done.
Lobe and Derricks again. Now Goods has started to move off the ball. There he is looking for it. He's got it, Adam Goods. Out to Hanbury. Next in the line, Laidler. To the Franklin direction. Back with it, Kennedy. Broadbent, hands full here, Port Adelaide's defence. McVeigh out to Jack. One after another, after another. Oh, the Swans start with sparkle, and it's Kieran Jack.
Not a bad way to start your 150th. He leads from the front, this bloke. It's just, as you called it well, Hutto, one after another, they just surge the ball forwards and they get numbers behind it. There's always someone there in support. And that was just relentless pressure that resulted in that goal.
And it was who it was as well, wasn't it? I mean, their big names all got involved.
You saw Kennedy going for the ball. He was pushing it forward. Then it goes to McVeigh. Then it comes to Jack. They're your midfield leaders.
First goal took 2 minutes, and it came from Kieran Jack in game number 150. So back we go again. Lobie and Derricks. He got to the ball as quick as he could, try to protect the area. Derricks came over the top. Broadbent up into the middle of the ground. We saw Monfries and Melcheski there. They're going to be on each other. Here's McVeigh. Down to Franklin, who's got two to deal with. And Jonas lending a much-needed hand. Wasn't the perfect handball over to Homps, but he's able to use his left foot and find Carlisle.
Interesting matchups down back. You've got Homps on Franklin, Carlisle picking up Reed, and Trengove on Goods. I reckon Adam Goods will try and lose him in traffic.
This is a terrible start for Port Adelaide, and that's got worse.
Oh, tell me he touched it.
It's clean through the legs just about. Oh, my goodness.
And nutmeg.
Well, rule number one in this game is you get your body behind the footy. And look, it might have been a stiff bounce, but he had to get something on it. It's a poor turnover from Carlisle. Really good smother and recovered the ball, McVeigh. But that had to be mopped up by Trengove.
Oh,
just didn't get anything behind the footy. He had to be better than that.
Just want to talk about this, Hutto. You can see the Sydney Swans forwards pushing right up to the back of the line of the centre half forward there. They're trying to make the ground smaller. They're trying to take Port Adelaide's run away from them. At the other end, you've got Port Adelaide doing the reverse, trying to make the ground bigger, maximise their run.
Port can't get their hands on the footy in any meaningful way yet. Disposals 14-6 in favour of the Swans. 3 inside 50s to 0 and 12-0 on the scoreboard.
Interesting at the other end, Hamish Hartlett's the forward playing deep for Port. Rampy's his opponent.
Ebert squeezed in, couldn't get a decent handball out of there. Kennedy. Gee, this is a mighty challenge for Port Adelaide to answer so early. And again, it's Sydney with the escape. Bird, Franklin. Again, 2-on-1.
And that's the disadvantage of not having Tippett in this lineup. You're going to get defenders dropping off to double team Franklin. And so the Sydney players have to be more aware than ever of when they kick to Franklin, don't kick to a 1-on-2.
But they're being challenged here in contested football. They were always going to be challenged at the Swans' strengths. 8-2 at the moment, a fast start by the Swans, in tight and tough.
That was better from Trengove against Goods, but Jack hooks it forward. You heard the call of the umpire, Jonas. I don't think the players did. He knew, so he kept on moving and was able to escape the clutches of the Swans. Back to the wing. They can't get past here, so it's all hands on deck for Port needed. But the Swans have got the jump again. Jack sets them up to come. Reed, a real opportunity. Didn't get it in the air, but did get it on the ground. Over to Kennedy, and now Goods helplessly watches as it sails over the line and out of bounds.
Frustrated Adam Goods because he had just ducked out the back. He was in the square all on his own. Mentioned Trengove's going to have to pay a lot of attention to his craft because Goods won't just play as a normal forward, he'll play as a midfield forward and he'll take him through traffic.
Alarm bells here. This is alarm bells for Port Adelaide. They've lost momentum now. We spoke about them wanting to play fast football, and I just think right now that would be a disaster because the Swans are denying every exit at this point.
Well, I was just going to ask you whether he can apply that tactic, Dave. You don't think so?
I think he will. He'll live and die by the same sword, Ken. It's admirable, but the Swans are ready for them.
6-0, the inside 50s.
Moby brings it to everyone's feet. Robbie Gray can't get into the thick of it yet. Pittard had a crack. Lobie, who provides a lot for them with follow-up work. That looks like, well, could have been high contact on Hartlett. Not so, said the umpire. The skipper Boak, and Hartlett again. Forced a handball, though. Couldn't use his natural long kicking. He might get a chance here. No, again by hand. So it's hard won. It's hard fought for Port to get this far. Cassisi off the left, just over Wingard's head. Back with it, Bird, not as good as he would have liked. Mitchell to inject some pace, perhaps. Digs it out for Ebert. Tried to make do with a pretty limited opportunity, and Richards, to the delight of the Sydney crowd, clears it out to the wing.
He comes straight back. Got to hit a target.
And it's Robbie Gray. He's having a stellar season. High ball, Westhoff to the square, aimless ball, easy mark.
That's exactly what Sydney done a couple of times down the other end. They kicked to the loose on Franklin, no good. Got to look for the shorter target.
The alarm, the emergency alarm has been pulled, and you can see here that Westhoff's gone down back. He's the one who goes behind the ball to try and settle this team down. Let's see if it works.
Break glass in emergency?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was the one then that just rashly kicked it long forward to Ted Richards, who was sitting on his own.
And Kingy, we're already seeing your theory on the inside-outside versus each other. I mean, contested ball, 13-5 right now in favour of Sydney. They are absolutely brilliant. As soon as the ball does hit the ground, you can notice the numbers that Sydney are getting around that ball to handball it out quickly, then get their running game going.
Good effort from Lobie. He's really having a crack. They obviously need all their guns to fire. There's John Longmire watching on. He'd be delighted by the start. 6 inside 50s to 2, so at least Port have now been able to get it into their forward half. Can they lock it away there and put some pressure on the Swans? Ebert. Schulz surrounded by Swans, just as Buddy's got the same issue at the other end. Rampy, a greasy ball, so not going to be that easy to handle. Well done by Grundy. Bundles it up, heads for Derricks. Again, Lobie was a big presence. Here's Hanbury. Corns is tagging him this afternoon. Bird and Boat. Some wonderful matchups, as we suggested. And here's the man sweeping in, Westhoff.
Oh. Gee, that needed to hit the target or they were in trouble. But now they get the opportunity to switch into space.
Broadbent takes it out wide for Pittard. Impey's chart. Oh,
that's a bad fumble.
Just a little fumble, enough to open the door for Jetta. And sometimes that's all they need. The Swans, a little opening and they are away. McVeigh to Goods. Laidler didn't want it, even though he'd made position, and Goods was left a little bit confused and perplexed. But he didn't panic. Smith to the wing, opening up Lloyd. Well done, Cassisi, not to give away the free, but Buddy comes on. Reinforcement for the Swans. Had a look ahead, he had nowhere to go, so that's why he didn't blast it. And they're going to get away now with a free kick and some advantage.
He didn't want to take it, Nick Smith. He was hoping to give it back.
Well, the players have decided...
It's been play on. They made that decision themselves, and the players, and the Port Adelaide players allowed them to do it.
It's been years since we've allowed the players to make their own decisions.
They did.
1886, I think, was the last time.
There was no whistle blown, and they just stopped and said, back to you, Brandon Jack, you take the kick, and the bloke stood on the mark.
We want to beat you on your merits.
Oh, wow, I've never seen that before.
Boundary throwing, packed SCG, not quite at capacity. There was hopes of 40,000, might not quite be there, but still it's a terrific crowd. And they would be delighted with what they're seeing. They're very much threatening here, the home team. Monfries to Mitchell, almost hurled that out in front of himself to gain control, which he's done now.
They've just got to run. There's no one to kick to.
Wine's got it back to Mitchell. Again, he left it behind. Taking no chances, runs away now.
Oh, she's kicking the numbers.
Schulz got a real battle against Richards and fought the fight very gamely. Needs support, needs it desperately. Umpire's ruling.
That is tough on Jay Schulz. He's 1 against 2. He brought the ball to ground. He recovered. Then he got pinged. But Port Adelaide, we know they can run, but the pressure of Sydney is forcing them at times to kick long when they don't want to. So that's a win for Sydney thus far.
Nick Smith brings it back across the ground a little bit. There's the skills of not just the old, but the young as well. As Lloyd moved it on, and then Rampy kicks it in the Franklin direction. And he's earned himself a free.
Wow.
Holding from the front.
Yeah.
Jack Holmes looks disappointed. We'll have a look at this one on the replay. We get the benefit of that. The umpire signalled a handful of jumper.
You never see this paid, Jace. I mean, I think this happens 40 times a game, and this is never paid.
Although if he's got a handful of jumper, good to see the umpire pay it. He's got a handful of his jumper
both have.
Underneath the throat. I've got no problem paying that.
Yeah, but they've both got a handful of jumper.
I'm not sure. Always look after the forward, Kingy.
Buddy Franklin, 8 games at the SCG, now total 23 goals. Not able to bring that one back as he would have liked. So the Swans, for all their dominance, lead by 13 points. Is that true reward for their superiority so far?
Perhaps not, but they'll be happy to play this close-style game if they can. I just love the way they're forcing Port Adelaide to use the footy before they want it.
Now, Impey starting away, and again, he's got nothing ahead. This is going to be interesting. What's he going to do? He waits until Schulz gives him something, but again, it was very low percentage stuff. If it gets out of bounds, I think they'd give it a tick.
That's a good result. Well, that's out of bounds off the foot of Schulz now. He's been really unlucky, Jay Schulz, twice.
But that's the speed that Port want to play at. Their opinion is that something will come.
But you
the
know
gut running abilities of this midfield, they'll get forward, they'll push forward, options will avail themselves.
And it would have been a one-on-one, except Ted Richards read it quicker than Jay Schulz, and he led out into the space, and there was nowhere for the kick to go because it needed to be 80 metres to get over the top to Schulz.
You're spot on about the pace down here, King. I mean, they're ringing in the changes both sides at the moment. They've made a dozen changes already. We're only 10 minutes into the game.
Again, an adventurous kick on the way out. Found Jack did Smith, and here's Franklin. There's movement inside the forward 50. Oh, it's gone way over Cunningham's head, way over everybody's head except Don Cassisi.
I'm not happy with that.
No idea why you would spoil there, King.
He's getting a lot of feedback from his teammates. You had Kennedy, who was bursting into space, McVeigh, who was bursting to the goal square by himself. Franklin had one focus, and that was to get the goal for himself.
Don Cassisi could have taken a simple chest mark, but decided to go with a two-fisted punch through. That's a sign of the pressure they're under.
Out to half-back, Homsch. Not played the mark. Malcheski trying to feed it through Jonas. Homsch again.
Look at the pressure.
Look at them come from every angle. Bird. Wines. Take it in turns just to draw the heat.
This is Sydney's game.
Yeah.
This is exactly what they love. You can just see it already, and Mearns touched on it. Contested possession, a gap of 14 in this game already. This is Sydney at their brutal best.
What they're also doing, Kingy, is they're showing everyone the recipe for how to take Port Adelaide out of the comfort zone, and that's intense pressure, not allowing Port to run and carry and use what they want, making them make quick decisions. Terrific pressure from the Swans.
Well, all the players are between the 50s at the moment. The Swans are ringing that 50 arc. You can see away to the right there with the ball slightly in Port Adelaide's attacking area. It's not going to be easy to get it closer for Port. Here's Jonas. They're working hard at the coalface. Gray scrapped it. Again, probably would be happy with out of bounds. Schulz clearly was.
Just want to talk about the tactic of what Sydney are doing. They're bringing their numbers right up the field. They're vacating their forward 50 and compressing the ground. So it's actually making it harder for Port to get their running game going, where Sydney are comfortable in traffic. Their handball game's working perfectly.
I guess, Kingy, when they break, as Wines gets it into the 50 and has another crack, is he going to have any more success? Monfries over the top was Shaw. He was able to get it to Cunningham, and again they handball their way in those confined spaces. Malcheski, and now Jack.
1-on-2.
We're going to see a fair bit of this afternoon, you suspect. Trengove over the top. Flip back up with assistance from Jonas. Trengove, they're on the move again. Port, more positive intent. Long, again to a crowded 50. Malcheski not quite. Grundy tried to feed it through to Smith. A little opening for Port in their forward 50. Wines quickly shut down though. And now Franklin's away. And he got the handball away when it mattered. McVeigh, Jenner's going.
Put it out in front.
Put it out and see what he can do. And we know what he can do when he gets the footy. He has to kick quickly. That not a big problem, but unfortunately for him, just a miss. And the Swans go to 2-3-15, and Port's still yet to score at the 15-minute mark.
Nothing wrong with the leg speed of Jarman Impey either.
It's a bad kick. The kick should have gone towards the goals. Draw him into a normal kick, not across the body, which I know you hate, Jace.
Matty White, been quiet so far, had an outstanding season. That was his first disposal of the game. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes today. And again, Gray with a little tap back. Parker and Cassisi. Gray, it's another opportunity. Jack, along for the ride was Trengove. Now it's Grundy. Oh, Gray tackled him without the footy. Laidler fed it through to Brandon Jack.
Well done.
Boak. Wines. Oh, he threw that out.
Yeah. And that was brought about by being under pressure when they shouldn't have been. It just needed sure hands from Alapati Carlisle, but he was in a different situation for him, up the ground, in traffic, not deep in defence, didn't handle the ball cleanly.
Parker takes the mark. Measures off the next one, and it's Brandon Jack. He's had a bit of the footy coming back into the team this week. Goes for Franklin. This time it's a one-on-one with Broadbent, who did well. Homps, his regular opponent, comes in from behind, and it's out of bounds.
Just want to ask Cameron Mooney at ground level the thoughts on the Port Adelaide forward line. With Sydney now having that loose man back, they're compressing the field. Seems to be really hampering Jay Schultz's game.
Well, I think at the minute too, Kingy, this is where I think they really struggle when Westhoff has to go behind the ball. They need a bigger key forward down there to just... Look, we're seeing a lot of pressure today from Sydney. So what are we seeing going in the forward line? We're seeing a few high kicks and a couple of bombs. Schulz isn't that person to really, stand under those balls and bring them to ground. to me, they're still short a big-bodied key forward that can present, that can bring the ball to ground and make sure the Crummers get involved into the game.
Tringo played forward last week, remembering obviously it's a totally different game against St Kilda. That is an option. A bit of blood there too. And the big fella Tringo brings it down, and here's Impey attracting a crowd very quickly. Gray finds a way up by hand. Carlisle's all short stuff, and the umpire said it was too short to be paid, but at least they've been able to spread and move the ball across the ground. Jonas looked for options out on the wing, but decided Pittard was the best of them all. And then Dweebert again, who hooks it in nicely. Mitchell charged one way, but he's going to go longer to full forward. Schulz, a genuine one-on-one. That's a better option. He's got a free
kick, yeah. And you know what? You're right, Hutto. If you're going to kick long, it has to be to a one-on-one. And the crowd's not happy, but Tedridge has put both arms around Jay Schulz and virtually tackled him, because that's the pressure the defenders face when they're not in the correct position and there's a long ball coming down to a forward that is in good position. It puts them under enormous pressure.
Jay Schulz finally puts a goal on the board for Port Adelaide. It comes 18 minutes into the opening term, and it was hard work for Port Adelaide, but as it stands, they trail by just 9 points.
When you've got a team that wants to play fast football at you, aggressive football, you can't allow them to play on from a mark. Ebert takes the mark here. He needs to be corralled. He needs to be held up. That's just too easy. That extra 3 or 4 metres there gives Schulz prime opportunity to get good land space on Teddy Richards, and he's done. He's done in flight.
So look at Jackson Tringo here. Just in the art of tackling. Cops an elbow from Kieran Jack, but stuck to his guns. Well done.
So they've started to get on top of the clearances, Port Adelaide. It's finally resulted in a goal. And this man's been outstanding so far. Ebert shares it with Gray. Things starting to look up. That ball, talk about looking up, he had to look up for an uncomfortable period of time there, Matty White. And Ebert's kept on going, and he's taken the mark.
Now, if they... Look, we know how much they believe in their ability to run. It'll be interesting to see what toll that takes on the Sydney players, whether they can run enough and smart enough to negate what Port Adelaide's doing.
That's the double green theory. That's why they go with it, because they put you to the sword for 120 minutes. If you fail for a block, they cash in.
So Brad Ebert, 7 goals, 4 for the season. It's an outstanding effort. It's just gone across the face, though, for a minor score.
And Kingy, just going on your double green theory, it is so evident down here. After going 2 goals down, most teams, you're right, they go the red, they slow the game up. Port Adelaide just threw caution to the wind. They started flicking the handballs around, they started winning the contested ball a little bit more, started spreading a lot harder, and just started running more. It is so evident that we've seen down here in the last 10 minutes. That's what's got them back into the game.
Jack takes the mark, feeds it back to Melcheski. He's been a wonderful ball winner for them this season. Reece Shaw couldn't complete the job, and now there's an opportunity for Port. Trengove, Cassisi.
Torp. This is a shocker.
Grundy, Impey. Grundy had the answers.
And you know what he didn't do? He didn't go to ground. It's a poor handball now, but he got possession because he didn't go to ground.
Gray feeding Impey, and now Hartlett had to hurry that left foot, and it showed. Up to meet it, Schulz to apply the clamps on Laidler. And they are winning more of the contest, but this one's going to go over the line and out of bounds.
They have stemmed the bleeding from the contested possession point of view, and they had to, because that's Sydney's game. If you don't compete there, you're in trouble on the scoreboard. That's why the Swans got away to a fast start. Ebert's lifted. The captain's out there orchestrating the positioning around these stoppages, and they've corrected pretty quick.
And Gray's been in the thick of it as well. Impey feeling Swans everywhere. I think he's going to be pinged here. This is one of these contentious decisions that a lot of footy fans are a little uncomfortable with. Sam Reid, 3 goals last week. Back in defence just for the moment, but he'll be drifting into the forward line. Grundy.
Both these sides like to play fast footy on counter-attack. They're number 1 and 2 ranked teams for having fast counter-attack from defensive 50 to score, Jace. We call fast counter-attack 0 to 15 seconds. Sydney have had that taken them away from them by Port. They're very good defensively. They want to get back to their opponent, guard good space, has slowed Sydney down counter-attack-wise.
Well, that kick from Dane Rampey certainly won't please the coach. Here's Broadbent as a result, try to craft a kick. And it was, there was almost some high contact as well on Trengove Mitchell.
It's a poor kick.
Yeah, it was taken by Grundy.
Needed to try and thread the hand pass through to runners.
Now, speaking of runners, Bird on the outside. Next stop would be either Goods on the wing or he goes for Shaw instead. And he's able to stretch the handball to Jetta.
Yeah, Franklin won out with Jonas in the forward 50 at the moment.
Cunningham just on the cusp of the 50. Got a little shove from Cassisi. Of course, Cunningham with 4 goals of his own last week. Played every game so far this year, Harry Cunningham.
This is where they're dangerous, Hutto. They've kicked 2 goals so far, 1 from a forward 50 stoppage and 1 from forward 50 tackle pressure. This is where the Swans want to play the game. A build-up of pressure. It draws free kicks, it draws errors.
Carlisle back on Franklin in the goal square. We're going to have to wait because of the blood rule. So is that an indication that when Buddy goes to true full forward that Carlisle will play on him, boys, or not?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be mix and match. And we've seen a number of transitional phases already where Homsch, who started on Franklin's there, we saw Trengove compete with him one out. I think we've seen Jonas. We saw Broadbent at one time having to cover because of the quick transition of play. I think if he goes really deep, they'd love Carlisle to be there.
Tommy Derricks played just the 2 games with the Tigers and now in his 11th with the Sydney Swans. And you might know, he goes for a pass, just poked it for Goods.
Yeah. He wants another stoppage, Tommy.
You wonder why they do that, don't you?
Ebert able to feed it through to Boak.
You're going to have a field day Wednesday, Jace.
Well, I think you just got to keep it simple. We're talking about a ruckman. We're not talking about one of the classiest midfielders in the game. Trying to thread the needle on a tight angle in the pocket. You're better off sitting it up at the top of the square. Play the percentages.
You can just see Trengove there, guys, coming off. You just see that stray elbow from Jack, flush right on the nose, and the umpires are finally caught him 5 minutes later.
They are starting to do more damage in this area, Port. Combining well, and it's Boak.
This is the problem.
Yeah, Westhoff and Rampy.
We've seen one long kick where they got Schulz one out. He got a free kick, kicked their goal. Every other long kick has been to a 1-on-2.
They have won 8 of the last 10 clearances, though, Port. They have really taken control there, winning the territory battle. The forward line structure won't be perfect because of a loose man at either end. Free kick to Sydney, which takes away that pressure they were applying through territory, Jace. I think Port have settled quite well this last 5 minutes.
Hanbury just 2 disposals up until then, so Kane Corns doing the job for Port. Here's Lloyd. He spotted someone on their own in the middle, and that someone is Craig Bird. Just had to wait a little longer than he would have liked, so it does allow Port to get some protection back in place. Brandon Jack, bit of a standoff with Wines. He's got him for pace. We know that. It's a high ball. Adam Goods is going to come with a big run, a rush, and take the mark. No, yes, it is paid. That time the players didn't pay it.
Well, that's the speed factor. I just think whenever you've got a player with speed, they've got Brandon Jack, they've got Jetta, who can be the other half-forward flanker to inject a bit of quality running at the top of 50. He could have had a shot. He could have driven it long to the goal square. He set a high ball up, Jace, about 30 from goal. It was a perfect place for Goods.
Yeah, I think Ken Hingley would be disappointed that no one chopped it off, though. He was able to run out and actually mark it on the chest in the end.
Goalless last week, kicked 3 and had 17 disposals the week before against Geelong. Adam Goods, it's fading very late. It was online early, as you saw, but in his 16th season, Adam Goods has missed. And Sydney 2-4-16, so 6 scoring shots to 2, and their lead is just 9 points.
What we do know with Port is when you've got them on the ropes like this, you need to put them away, because the longer they stay in the game, you know they're going to come. We've seen big rushes of 8, 9, 7 goal streaks that Port have been able to put to their opposition in third quarters and in last quarters this season. So the time is now for the Swans to get this advantage on the scoreboard.
Port Adelaide beat Sydney last year. That was at Amy Stadium in round 13. 18 points. Here's Kennedy with an opportunity, which he doesn't take either.
It's a few good opportunities gone to waste for the Swans. I wouldn't want to waste too many of them.
Careful kick back into play. Now, Jonas and McVeigh got a hand on that, and what a difference it made. Buddy Franklin. Wow, it was a quick-fire shot for goal, wasn't it?
And guess what? Carlisle got his body behind the ball. At least he got his body behind it.
He didn't have much choice. No. That was coming at speed.
That's twice Jared McVeigh's affected the spoil. He was the one that spoiled Carlisle's kick that resulted in the goal. And that time he smothered the hand pass.
They're having serious problems getting out of here at the moment, the Swans. Wingard just trying to wade his way through Malcheski successfully too. Hanbury feeding Kennedy. He chose Lloyd, who kicks long to full forward. Again, under the pressure down there is Goods. And again, Broadbent came in with assistance and needs to farm it back. And he got good help from Kasisi. Not so good with the handball. And Hobbs, a big sigh of relief.
This is the building of the pressure we talk about. It's not great play, it's messy football in a lot of ways, but the Swans want to lock the ball in here. They want to play the game in their forward half, take the run away from Port Adelaide. They need to play on here. Corns needs to go there. He needs to try and get speed back into the game.
I reckon it's a pressure they haven't really faced this year, Port Adelaide, which is probably a really good test for them.
Well, Hartlett did go, but his troops down the ground weren't quite ready. And Shaw with the intercept to Parker and to Malcheski. You know the rest. It's going to go close. No, it doesn't make the distance. Good late pressure from Monfries.
Even though he missed the target, Kingy, that Hartlett kick was the one that could break them open if he finds the right option. You know, he had a couple of players there, just missed him by 5 metres.
Big Loby's got the footy inside defensive 50 and he's calling on Mitchell to come up the ground.
Why do they do that and then kick it straight to the opposition?
White got the arm in, but he's still outnumbered out there. The Swans getting soldiers to the footy, and here comes the ball again through Lloyd and Bird. He waited, gave it to Shaw, who angled one for Franklin. Little nudge from Carlisle, was successful, and the ball over the line and out of bounds. We've got a minute 33 remaining in the opening term.
See, I like the look of Adam Goods deep at full forward. He's got Broadbent as an opponent who wants to be a half-back flank type. He doesn't want to be a key post defender. They've got to give Adam Goods some good high ball opportunity in the goal square.
Of course, no Kurt Tipper today, but also no Ben McGlynn. He been a key player for them this year, the Swans. Franklin fighting a bit of a lone battle in there and winning it almost. The handball slapped back by Mitchell. It's up for grabs, literally. Hanbury off to Kennedy. Here they go. Franklin was perfect for his left boot. Unfortunately, though, the shape of the kick took it the other way. And the Swans now with a scoreline they wouldn't like too much. 2 goals, 8.
They've created 10 scoring shots, though. And that would signal some alarm bells in the Port Adelaide box.
Broadbank gives it plenty to half-back. Shaw to come late with the fist. Mitchell went to ground at the critical moment, but got up first and fed it through to Wingard. The talented Wingard, just his 3rd disposal. Can he make it count? Well, he does. Even though Westhoff went to ground, he got involved again, Wingard. Pittard down to Monfries as the target. Malcheski was able to fend it away to play his role, not just as the attack coming out of defence, but also doing the negating stuff. Now Schulz finds Wingard.
Could have let it go another 5 metres, would have been marked by Westhoff. I wonder if Wingard's in range. Those last 2 passages, though, that's Port Adelaide's play, isn't it? That's what they want.
Well, Robbie Gray's within range. That's a look at Ted Richards. He's furious.
Well, he's had some sort of year, Robbie Gray. He leads the competition in score involvements. The #1 player in the competition for score involvements. It's been an amazing season from him. I think he's nearly their most important player. He's an impossible matchup. He can go into the midfield when they're in a cross situation, but he creates scores inside the forward 50. That's why they love him.
He's averaging 23 disposals per game this year, King. His previous best was 17, so way up on that. He's been averaging just under 2 goals a game, and right now is the time to show it. Robbie Gray on the quarter-time siren. He's not going to bring that back enough. So both sides leaving something out there. Sydney 2-8-20. Tight contest. We expected nothing else, but the Swans dominating as far as the inside 50s are concerned. 18-13. Their lead, though, is 12 points.